Most people think personality is something you are born with. They believe it is fixed, like height or eye color. They say, "This is just how I am," and use that sentence as a full stop instead of a comma. But personality is not a finished product. It is a living process. It grows, shrinks, hardens, softens, and evolves based on one simple thing most people avoid looking at honestly. Awareness, self-awareness begins with the courage to observe yourself without defending yourself, not judging, not justifying, not blaming, just observing. The moment you start watching your thoughts, your reactions, your tone, and your patterns, growth quietly begins. Without awareness, improvement is impossible. You may read books, listen to talks, and make resolutions, but nothing changes deeply because you are trying to fix what you have never fully understood. Many people want to improve their personality, but they focus only on the surface. They work on how they speak, how they dress, how confident they appear. These things matter, but they are expressions, not roots. The root lies much deeper in how you think when no one is watching, in how you react when things do not go your way, in how you speak to yourself after you fail. Personality is not revealed in comfort. It is revealed in pressure. Self-awareness asks uncomfortable questions. Why do I get irritated so easily with certain people? Why do I feel threatened when someone does better than me? Why do I need validation so badly? Why do I avoid silence? Why do I repeat the same mistakes even after promising myself I won't? These questions are not meant to shame you. They are meant to show you where growth is needed. Most people live on autopilot. Something happens and they react instantly. Someone says something and emotion takes over. There is no pause, no space, no reflection. Over time, these unconscious reactions become personality traits. Anger becomes "that's just my nature." Insecurity becomes "I am just an introvert." Avoidance becomes "I don't like drama." Without awareness, habits disguise themselves as identity. Self-awareness creates a small but powerful gap between stimulus and response. In that gap lies choice. And choice is the birthplace of personality development. When you notice your anger rising but choose silence instead of shouting, you reshape yourself. When you notice jealousy but choose appreciation instead of comparison, you evolve. When you notice fear but choose action instead of avoidance, your personality stretches beyond its old limits. One of the hardest parts of self-awareness is accepting responsibility without self-hatred. Many people confuse awareness with criticism. They either ignore their flaws completely or attack themselves mercilessly for having them. Both approaches block growth. Awareness is neutral. It simply says, "This is where I am right now." From that clarity, change becomes possible. Think about how often you blame external circumstances for your internal state. Traffic made me angry. That person made me upset. This situation ruined my mood. Self-awareness gently flips the question, why did this trigger me? Why did I give the situation so much power over my emotions? When you ask these questions sincerely, you stop being a victim of circumstances and start becoming a student of yourself. Personality improves not when life becomes easier, but when your understanding of yourself becomes deeper. Two people can face the same challenge. One becomes bitter, the other becomes wiser. The difference is not intelligence or luck. The difference is awareness. One person looks outward for blame. The other looks inward for learning. Self-awareness also means noticing your strengths, not just your weaknesses. Many people are unaware of what they do well. They underestimate their patience, their kindness, their resilience. Improving personality is not about becoming someone else. It is about refining what already exists within you. Awareness helps you amplify your strengths and soften your rough edges. Daily self-awareness does not require hours of meditation or isolation. It begins with small moments of honesty. How did I speak to that person today? Why did that comment bother me so much? Did I listen or was I waiting to reply? Did I act from fear or from clarity? These reflections, done consistently, slowly rewire your personality. Your inner dialogue plays a major role in shaping who you become. If your mind constantly criticizes, doubts, or rushes you, your personality becomes anxious and defensive. Awareness allows you to notice this voice without believing everything it says. When you change how you speak to yourself, your external behavior changes naturally. Many conflicts in life repeat because the lesson was never learned. Different people, same pattern. Different situations, same reaction. Awareness helps you see patterns instead of isolated incidents. Once you see a pattern, you stop asking, why does this keep happening to me, and start asking, what is this trying to teach me about myself? Improving personality is not about perfection, it is about progress. Awareness helps you catch yourself earlier. Maybe earlier you used to react in anger for days. Now you react for hours, later for minutes. Eventually you pause before reacting at all. This is growth. Quiet, gradual, but powerful. Self-awareness also deepens empathy. When you understand your own fears, insecurities, and contradictions, you become less judgmental of others. You stop labeling people quickly. You realize everyone is fighting battles you cannot see. This softness becomes part of your personality. People feel safer around you, not because you are impressive, but because you are understanding. Many people want confidence, but they skip awareness. True confidence does not come from pretending to be fearless. It comes from knowing yourself honestly, knowing your limits, knowing your triggers, knowing your values. When you are aware, you stop overreacting because you are not constantly trying to protect a fragile image. Self-awareness requires patience. You will notice flaws you don't like. You will catch yourself repeating behaviors you promised to change. This is part of the process. Growth is not linear. Awareness does not remove flaws instantly. It removes denial. And removing denial is the beginning of real change. Every evening offers a quiet opportunity. Before sleeping, you can replay the day gently. Not to judge, but to observe. Where did I act with awareness? Where did I act on impulse? What can I do slightly better tomorrow? These small reflections, done daily, shape your personality more than any motivational quote ever could. When awareness becomes a habit, life becomes a classroom. Every interaction teaches you something about yourself. Every emotional reaction becomes information. Every mistake becomes feedback. You stop seeing failure as a threat and start seeing it as guidance. Improving your personality every day does not mean becoming serious or rigid. In fact, awareness often brings lightness. You laugh at your own patterns. You don't take yourself so personally. You respond instead of react. You choose growth over ego. Personality is not what you show on good days. It is who you are on difficult days. Awareness prepares you for those moments. It slows you down. It reminds you of your values when emotions are loud. It helps you act in alignment with who you want to become, not who your impulses push you to be. When self-awareness becomes part of your daily life, improvement stops feeling forced. You are not trying to fix yourself aggressively. You are understanding yourself compassionately. And from that understanding, change happens naturally, quietly, and steadily. Many people begin self-improvement with a burst of intensity. One day they wake up deeply motivated. They make long lists, set strict routines, promise dramatic changes. They decide they will wake up early every day, read for hours, exercise intensely, control every emotion, and become a new person within weeks. The intention is sincere. The energy feels powerful. But intensity by its nature is unstable. It burns bright and fast, and then it fades. Consistency works differently. It is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not depend on mood or excitement. It shows up even on ordinary days, especially on ordinary days. That is why it lasts. Intensity relies on motivation. Consistency relies on discipline. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline is built slowly. On the days when motivation disappears, intensity collapses. Consistency continues, not because it feels inspiring, but because it has become normal. Self-improvement is not an event, it is a lifestyle. And lifestyles are built through repeated behaviors, not heroic efforts. Reading 10 pages every day for a year, hangs you more than reading 2 books in one emotional weekend. Speaking calmly once in a heated situation reshapes your character more than giving 100 motivational speeches to yourself. Small actions, repeated daily, quietly rewire who you are. Intensity often comes from impatience. We want quick results. We want visible transformation. We want others to notice. But personality, mindset, and character change internally long before they show externally. Consistency respects this truth. It understands that growth is happening even when no one is clapping. Many people quit self-improvement not because it doesn't work, but because they expect it to work too fast. They compare their beginning to someone else's years of practice. They feel discouraged. Consistency teaches humility. It teaches you to focus on your path, your pace, your effort. There is also less ego in consistency. Intensity likes big promises. It likes dramatic declarations. Consistency prefers silent effort. It does not need validation. It measures success by continuity, not applause. When you act consistently, you remove decision fatigue. You don't ask every day, should I do this? You simply do it. This reduces mental resistance. Over time, the behavior becomes part of your identity. You no longer say, I am trying to improve. You say, this is what I do. Consistency also makes failure less dangerous. When you are intense, one missed day feels like defeat. When you are consistent, one missed day is just information. You return the next day without guilt or drama. This keeps you in the process instead of pushing you out of it. Improvement happens at the level of nervous system, habits, and emotional regulation. These systems change slowly. They respond better to gentle repetition than to sudden pressure. Consistency respects human psychology. Intensity often ignores it. Think about relationships. Trust is not built through one grand gesture. It is built through consistent presence. Self-trust works the same way. Every small promise you keep to yourself strengthens your confidence. Every consistent action tells your mind, I can rely on myself. This inner trust becomes the foundation of real growth. Many people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a year. Consistency is patient enough to wait for the year. It understands that slow progress is still progress. When you practice something daily, even briefly, you stay connected to it. You keep the habit alive. Intensity often creates long gaps, and gaps break momentum. Consistency protects momentum by never allowing too much distance between effort and effort. Consistency also builds emotional stability. When growth becomes part of your routine, your identity stabilizes. You are not swinging between extremes of motivation and disappointment. You become grounded. This grounding reflects in your personality. You become calmer, more reliable, more composed. In self-improvement, intensity feels powerful, but consistency is powerful. One is loud, the other is effective. One excites the mind, the other transforms the person. Over time, the quiet force always wins. Consistency does not require perfect days. It requires honest days. Some days your effort will be strong, some days it will be minimal. But the thread continues. That continuity shapes who you become. When improvement is consistent, it becomes sustainable. And when it is sustainable, it becomes permanent. That is why consistency beats intensity, not once, but every single day. Life is unpredictable by nature. No matter how carefully you plan, something will always arrive uninvited. A comment you didn't expect, a delay that ruins your schedule, a betrayal that shocks you, a loss that changes everything. What happens to you is often outside your control, but what happens within you is where your real power lives. And most people give that power away without realizing it. Two people can experience the same situation and walk away as completely different individuals. One grows bitter, the other grows wiser. One breaks down, the other builds strength. The event was the same. The response was different, and that difference quietly shapes personality, character, and destiny. We often believe that our emotions are caused by events. This made me angry. That ruined my mood. Because this happened, I reacted this way. But this belief keeps us trapped. It makes us feel helpless. The truth is more uncomfortable but more empowering. Events trigger emotions, but responses are chosen, even when the choice is unconscious. Most responses are habits, not decisions. Someone criticizes you and you react defensively because that is what you have always done. Someone ignores you and you withdraw because that is familiar. Over time, these habitual reactions become your personality. Not because they are who you are, but because they are what you repeat. Your response is the space where awareness shows up. It is the moment where you decide whether this situation will control you or teach you. When you pause before reacting, even for a second, you reclaim control. That pause may look small, but it is powerful. In that pause, you choose dignity over impulse, growth over ego, peace over drama. Many people regret not what happened to them, but how they reacted to it. Words spoken in anger, decisions made in fear, silence chosen out of pride, time wasted in resentment. The event passed, but the response left a scar. This is why response matters more than circumstance. Circumstances pass, responses stay with you. Responding wisely does not mean suppressing emotions. It means understanding them. Anger may arise, but you decide whether it becomes violence or clarity. Fear may appear, but you decide whether it becomes paralysis or preparation. Sadness may arrive, but you decide whether it becomes self-pity or depth. When you respond unconsciously, life feels chaotic. You feel like things keep happening to you. When you respond consciously, life feels instructive. Everything becomes feedback. Even difficult moments start shaping you instead of shaking you. One of the greatest strengths a person can develop is emotional regulation. Not emotional control, but regulation. The ability to feel deeply without acting destructively. This skill does not come from avoiding life. It comes from meeting life with awareness again and again. People who respond thoughtfully are often misunderstood. They are mistaken for being weak, silent, or passive. But restraint is not weakness. It is strength under control. Anyone can shout. Anyone can react. Few can pause, reflect, and choose a response that aligns with their values. Your response also teaches people how to treat you. When you respond with self-respect, boundaries form naturally. When you respond with clarity, confusion reduces. When you respond with calm, chaos loses power. Over time, your consistent responses shape the quality of your relationships more than your explanations ever could. Children learn this lesson early, not through advice, but through observation. They watch how adults respond to stress. They absorb how conflict is handled. They internalize whether anger is explosive or thoughtful, whether disappointment leads to blame or learning. Your response today becomes someone else's emotional education tomorrow. Responding wisely does not mean responding slowly every time. It means responding consciously. Sometimes a firm response is needed. Sometimes silence is the best answer. Sometimes walking away is wisdom, not avoidance. The key is alignment. Does your response reflect who you want to become, or does it simply discharge emotion? Life will test you repeatedly in the same areas until you learn how to respond differently. The same type of conflict, the same kind of person, the same emotional trigger. When your response changes, the lesson changes. Sometimes the situation even disappears because it no longer has power over you. Inner peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of stable responses. When your responses become grounded, problems lose their ability to shake you. You stop overreacting. You stop personalizing everything. You stop carrying yesterday into today. The most powerful response is responsibility, not blame, not denial. Responsibility says, this happened, and I choose how it shapes me. This mindset turns pain into maturity, mistakes into wisdom, and setbacks into strength. You cannot control what people say, what situations arise, or how life unfolds. But you can always control the tone of your inner voice, the direction of your thoughts, and the dignity of your actions. And over time, these choices define you far more than any external event ever will. Life will keep happening. That is guaranteed. Who you become in response is not. That part is entirely in your hands. Personality is often mistaken for something dramatic, something that reveals itself only in big moments. But in reality, personality is shaped quietly, in the smallest and most repeated actions of daily life. It is not built on the days when you feel inspired or courageous. It is built on ordinary days, when no one is watching and nothing special is happening. Every habit is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. The way you start your morning, the way you speak when you are tired, the way you handle minor inconveniences. These moments seem insignificant, but they accumulate. Over time, they become your temperament, your mindset, your reputation, your character. If you practice impatience daily, impatience becomes your personality. If you practice gratitude daily, calmness slowly becomes your nature. If you practice avoidance daily, fear shapes your decisions. If you practice discipline daily, stability becomes part of who you are. Habits do not just change behavior, they change identity. Many people wait for a personality change before changing their habits. They say, once I become more confident, I will speak up. Once I become calmer, I will stop reacting. But it works the other way around. You speak up daily in small ways and confidence develops. You practice calm responses daily and emotional stability forms. Personality follows practice, not intention. Your brain learns through repetition. Whatever you do repeatedly, your mind starts to accept as normal. If you complain every day, your mind looks for problems automatically. If you reflect every day, your mind looks for meaning. If you rush every day, your nervous system stays anxious. If you slow down daily, peace becomes familiar. Daily habits also shape how you see yourself. When you keep small promises to yourself consistently, self-trust grows. When you break promises repeatedly, self-doubt strengthens. Over time, this inner relationship becomes part of your personality. You either move through life with quiet confidence or with constant inner resistance. People often underestimate the power of emotional habits, the habit of criticizing, the habit of comparing, the habit of overthinking, the habit of suppressing emotions. These habits slowly harden into traits. Someone becomes negative, insecure, or closed off, not because they chose to be that way, but because they practiced those patterns unconsciously for years. The same applies to positive traits. Kindness is a habit, listening is a habit, patience is a habit, confidence is a habit. They are not inherited gifts. They are built through repeated behavior. When you choose kindness, even in small interactions, our personality softens. When you choose honesty daily, integrity becomes natural. Your habits also decide how you respond under pressure. In stressful moments, you don't rise to your ideals. You fall to your habits. If your daily habit is to pause and reflect, you will do that under stress. If your habit is to react impulsively, that will show up when it matters most. Long-term personality change does not require dramatic transformation. It requires consistency in small actions, speaking respectfully when irritated, choosing silence instead of gossip, showing up on time, finishing what you start. These behaviors slowly build a personality that others experience as reliable, calm, and trustworthy. Daily habits also shape emotional resilience. A person who reflects daily becomes wiser. A person who exercises daily becomes steadier. A person who learns daily becomes more confident. A person who prays or meditates daily becomes centered. These practices quietly anchor the personality, making it less reactive and more grounded. Your environment often reinforces your habits. The people you spend time with, the content you consume, the routines you follow, they all influence who you become. Awareness of this allows you to design habits intentionally instead of drifting into them unconsciously. Personality is not what you say you value, it is what your habits reveal. You may value patience, but if your daily habit is rushing, impatience will dominate. You may value kindness, but if your